Okay, I think we're going live here. Let's find out. It's James Maduke speaking, and you're watching another live webcast from teachonline.io. We'll just wait a minute here and see if we can double check and make sure everything's going on, which I hope it is. We'll find out shortly here. And then let's see what's happening. Do a quick refresh here. And do we have a live feed? Let's find out. Live feed. Don't think so yet. So just want to make sure we're in the right place and we've got a live feed. So uno momento. Do we have a live feed? Not really sure. So, okay, hopefully we're live. We'll find out in a second. These sessions are these sessions are interesting for me for the short term because we're using some new live streaming technology, and of course, nothing comes out perfect at the start. So, we do our best, obviously, to get things working as best as possible. If you're joining us later, just be aware that yes, stuff does happen a little bit off kilter. It's not a set presentation. I'm not working from a script on these. These are meant to be open classrooms. If you do have questions, make sure to add them to the chat or in the comments below if you're not watching this. And if you haven't joined the community site, it's a free community site at teachonline.io, please go register there. We have a whole bunch of additional information, resources, downloads for people who want to start, build, and grow an education business. So that's what it's kind of about. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to kind of share how I got started and also how I started creating courses and how I got into that. And I think it's important that I do that because many of the people that we talk to or many of the clients that I talk to, they have a lot of trouble getting that first course done. And there's a lot of pressure on people who are teachers or who want to teach or want to share their experiences. They're not really sure, how to get started, what's involved, what they need to do, all of that important stuff. And they can be thrown off and actually quite scared when they get started just because there's an awful lot going on. And you can be intimidated with stuff like having your face on screen, listening to your own voice, all the technology, not being accepted by people or the content that you're sharing. So there's just there's an awful lot of stress that goes on to everyone, including the people that are trying to help you. And again, if you're running a business, there's all sorts of additional reasons too that you're thinking about having or doing a course or something along those courses, and you're trying to figure out, what is it that I can do, or what is it that I'm doing that that is really helping me out here. So these are the things I want to kind of talk about today. Again, I'm playing around on the screen here just to make sure that we've got stuff in the go here, which it looks like we do. And if something makes sense to you here and you do have more questions, make sure to ask them, because there's an awful lot going on. And one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is building mind maps out. And mind maps, I'm an absolute huge fan of mind maps. And if you haven't watched any of the other videos that we've done on mind maps, there's a ton of different applications for mind maps other than brainstorming. They're a really, really great way to put together processes and organize your thoughts in a way that are good for you, but also good for other people that you're trying to share what it is that you're doing. And whether that's a process or a concept or a strategy, it's just a good way to put that in a visual format as well as a written format and an audio format. So there's just a lot of value in using mind maps out. And one of the things that I do is when I see a new video or I see someone else doing something, or I learn a strategy, or I run into a process that really makes sense, what'll happen is I'll make a mind map of it. So I've got hundreds of mind maps now. I should probably have a mind map that organizes my mind maps. But I have all of these mind maps put together that document the steps and that are important to me when I look at how do I teach stuff, or how do I have a membership site, or how do I have an education business, or how do I create and sell online courses. There's just a ton of stuff that really goes on. And I was just looking at a couple of these maps before I came on today, just to give you an example of some of the stuff that 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 you'll probably run into. So I had one here. Every course lesson, not the course, but the actual lesson in a course. There was one here that I had out, and it had 5 steps: course goal or lesson goal, hook, intro and topic, delivering the content, the loops, and closing. So there was 5 steps, but if I look at the number of points that I had within those steps, I had an average of 10 points, or 10 pieces of important information in each of those 5 steps. And that's just on doing a lesson. If I look, for example, I have another map that I put together on doing edits for courses, the actual visual edits. And there was hundreds of things that could be done in edits. If I take a look at, for example, picking the right course to do, there was, I think, at 156 steps that were there. So if we start putting these all together, there's just an overwhelming amount of information that we have to think about and to really get our head wrapped around. And again, most people don't get started. They just don't bother starting. They get overwhelmed, or there's one reason or one piece that they haven't learned yet in those steps. So what they do is they don't bother starting. So it's hard. It's really, really hard. And it takes time, and you have to be persistent. It takes energy and effort, and you have to be willing to make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. Like even I've made some today here, just trying to get this thing set up and working at the start. There's a lot happening on the screen for a live stream. This isn't even a course. This is just a live stream kind of training or webinar. It's not a course, but there's all sorts of stuff that's going wrong here. I did a video earlier in the week, and I think the video was 9 or 10 minutes long, the one that actually got published. But that particular video, just as an example, I think took me 3.5 or 4 hours to edit. And that's not because it was a fancy edit. It was because I don't know enough, or I'm not skilled enough, or I haven't done enough edits on that type of video to be able to handle and figure out how to do it properly. So that's just editing. That's just putting a video together. I'm not talking about making sure that you've got the right speaker and it's hooked up in the right place, or the right lights that I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of this red face that I have. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, and I wanted to just do today kind of a little bit of a start on how I got going with it, and hopefully that will help you kind of think about what it is that you want to do with your first course. And I've got something new here. I'm gonna show this one. We'll try and show this one. This is actually when I first started out. We really couldn't do videos like this. Early 2000s, we couldn't do them because there wasn't enough bandwidth for people to watch videos. There was just a lot of people were on dial-up still. And, high speed was a thing that companies had, not regular people. So we really couldn't do videos in live videos. You could do some that were recorded, but you didn't do long ones because people will have to download a huge video file. And when you're selling digital products like courses, a lot of things you didn't want to do at that time was let someone download your file, because someone would buy a course and then give it away free to their friends and other business acquaintances, and that was kind of hard. So we have these huge files, and I started out, and the reason I started out is using a little tool that I'm going to turn on now, and hopefully we'll get it working properly. What it was is I'll just make sure we got the right one here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Video pencil. So this is how I actually started off, was doing something here where I would have this video pencil, and again, this is one this is just on an iPad mini. So I've got an iPad mini and I've got the Apple Pencil here. And this one is Video Pencil, is a little app. This is the free version. I haven't licensed it yet, but I'll be licensing it later today. So this is we did live streams like this. And I did actual writing on a whiteboard, and we put the courses together with this. And the thing is, I didn't start making courses. Even though I'm talking about making a course today, I didn't start. It was no courses were at the start. So even though I'm talking about, creating courses, I didn't start with courses. And what I really started with was tutorials. So that's the first thing I want you to think about. It was, when you're creating a course, I suggest, my recommendation is, don't create a course. Don't create your first course. Stay away from trying to create a course. I've got lots of people that say, yeah, I want to create a course. And I got this great idea for a course. And, there might be an expert, or they're passionate about something. And they go, I want to create my course, and I want to sell my course. Or I want to create my course, and I want it to be part of a membership site, or whether it's to paid or free. They got this great idea for a course and they're thinking about it. And the part that is the biggest mistake for first-time course creators is they don't create a course, or they try and create a course before they've created tutorials. And why that's important, in my opinion, is because when there's a couple things that happen there. So let me just clear the documents here. So a couple things that happens. The first thing is that you haven't made sure that you have a valid idea, or something that people are actually going to want to watch or learn about. And some of the points, when you think about it, this whole idea is that when you create tutorials, which are individual lessons on how to do something, or a single strategy, or something that you wanted to teach, when you have a tutorial, think of it as kind of like a testing lesson. And if you do a bunch of tutorials, you're going to be able to get some feedback on what people are liking, what people are not liking, what people are interested in, what people are not interested in. So what I'm going to suggest is, don't do a course, do a series of tutorials. And I've often talked about, you've heard me talk about a hub and a spoke. Think of those tutorials as spikes, or arms, or spokes of the big picture or theme that you're looking at. And if you can make a number of tutorials, so let's say you've got number one here, you do number 2 here's on a different topic, number 3 is here, number 4 is there, number 5 is there. You're going to find, of these multiple spokes that you're creating, you're going to find ones that not only you find easier to make, but people who are viewing them are going to either watch them, they're going to ask questions, they're not going to watch them, they're not going to ask questions. And you'll get some feedback as to whether or not people are even interested in it. And the whole idea before making this course is getting it to the point where you are you're in a situation where you have a really good picture up front of what it is that you're wanting to be adding or not adding to it. So, at the start of the day, what we need to do is make sure that I get rid of all of this pencil ink on myself. So we want to make sure that we've got a listing of tutorials, or we've created a bunch of tutorials to start with. And we've got a really good picture of what our hub is, what the spokes are with that hub, what the theme of our course is, and a really good idea before we invest in creating a big course that we have some valid ideas and something that people are going to be interested in. So don't create a course. Don't create a course. Create a bunch of tutorials. A bunch of tutorials that are simple, straightforward, and answer one question. So think of the tutorials as things of, if someone's interested in how to barbecue or how to cook Southern style or how to cook Mediterranean or how to cook a keto diet, or if someone wants to be able to train a dog, or what does it mean to be a good good with pets, for example. There's all that theme has all sorts of different topics that can be tied to that theme. So go and investigate those and see which ones people are interested in again and people want to learn about. And when you're doing that, just test stuff. Don't say, oh, I got to have a course on how to stop your dog from barking. Don't get specific in the weeds at the start. Just do a whole bunch of broader kinds of tutorials and show people how to do or teach people how to do one specific task. They're asking a question. They want an answer to it. A tutorial is, in general, an answer to a specific question. One of the things that I always recommend, and we talked about it, I think one of the other times we talked about it, yeah. So if I go to, if you're not sure what people are asking, an easy way is to go to Answer the Public. And again, this is a free service. If you go to Answer the Public, you can either sign in or you can just go in and take a look at it and say, so we'll do let's do a topic. We'll do how to stop dogs from barking. I go and do a search, and these are the kind of tools that it's going to give us. It's working out the questions. It's going to give us the number of searches that people are making or asking for how to stop dogs from barking. So you can go and do some of this research beforehand to get some ideas on what it is. And let's see what we got here. Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of answers on how to stop dogs from barking. And you can see the different colors that are here. The darker means it's searched more frequently. The lighter means it's less frequently. They even give you, cost per click, search volumes, 2.9 thousand. If you look at 2,900 for that one, and you look at 10 for this one, like where are you going to focus or how to answer questions on? You want to answer specific questions. Why do you want to stop dogs from barking? How do you stop dogs from barking? When is the best time to teach them? When they're a puppy, or where do you teach them? So these are all questions, specific questions that you're going to ask in a single tutorial. Okay, and you want to answer or put together a whole bunch of tutorials up front so that you have those and they're available to you. So create some tutorials. Don't create a course. That's kind of the first thing that I wanted to kind of share. That's what I did. I didn't create any courses to start off with. I think I had 70 or 80 tutorials that were done before I created my first course. And those tutorials at the time, YouTube wasn't around, so it was on a website. We had it on our blog. So a lot of people were doing blog, they were doing written blogs. And what I did is I did video blogs because I hate writing. So I did videos, and I did it with that a little tool that works exactly the same as what I was talking about here with that video pencil. So I was able to basically write on a tablet. In this case, I'm using an iPad and the video pencil, but I was able to record my voice and then just put images, for example, or bullet points, or, talk, and add a visual component to the information I was giving. So I didn't have to put on my headshot. I didn't have to worry about lighting. I didn't have to worry about a studio. I didn't have to worry about doing a whole bunch of fancy editing. I was just recording live teaching sessions. And that's the other thing that, that was the big lesson for me, is that when you're getting started, if you can minimize the amount of technology and personal exposure that you have at the start and still have quality content, you're going to be far better off creating a whole bunch of tutorials on different topics that relate to a theme. So as long as they're topics and the theme is connected, try and create those, put them together. Okay, does that make sense? If you do have any comments or questions, put them into the chat there, and I'll do my best to make sure and get them. I think we have the chat here in the background. If not, I'll show those and see what's going on with those ones. Yeah, there's Dr. Steph. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this whole kind of thing with courses, stay away from courses, tutorials. Now, here's the other thing that I learned early, and this one's really, really, really hard to kind of get a hang on it, but you have to absolutely, positively, and again, this is the hardest thing to do, is you have to remove your ego. You have to remove your ego from all of the courses that you do. And why is that? Because the course and the tutorials that you are creating are not necessarily the ones that the people that are watching want to watch. So you've got to remove your ego, get rid of it, and remember that it's not you, it's not your ego, not what you think the course should be about. It's what the learners think it should be about. So end of the day, you always have to make the courses or the tutorials for the learners. And if you can get some feedback from the learners doing those tutorials, that really, really, really helps. And there's always two kinds of courses, right? The one that's, where that's you, it's like you think it's quality. You think it's a good course. So you think the course is good, quantity's there, and then you have the student or the learner. Let's erase that one, and I'll see if I can write it a little better. So you've got the student who's here, or the person watching the tutorial, and they're the ones that decide on the quality of the content. So you have to always just remember that it's the person that is consuming your content that is the one that decides whether or not it's quality or not quality. And if they do, and you're just publishing these tutorials for you to YouTube, they're going to let you know by subscribing to the like button. They're going to let you know by giving you feedback. They're going to let you know by asking more questions. They'll let you know whether the quality of the content is what they're looking for. And the thing that's nice about this is if someone has a specific question that they want answered in a tutorial, they're not hung up on the editing. And at the start, that's a huge, huge benefit, right? You don't have to worry about lighting and technology and microphones and studios and what cameras you have and A-roll and B-roll and all those fancy things. You can, put yourself out there in a way that lets you do all that homework up front. So try and get rid of yourself at the start. The thing that the real important part here is that when you create a whole bunch of tutorials up front, you technically, what happens, let me just make sure we get this erased here completely. Let's clear it completely. I'm going to try this, actually another little thing with this video pencil, and I'll try it right now and see if it works properly. But the best thing about it is multiple tutorials create a course. So multiple tutorials create a course. There we go. How about that? Multiple tutorials create a course. So when you've created a whole bunch of tutorials and it's all about a hub or a central theme, you can actually end up with a course after you've created the tutorials. It's kind of backwards, right? A lot of times we're inclined to go, oh, I'm going to create a course, so what are the lessons that I need? If you create tutorials that are around a theme, if you create enough tutorials, you'll be able to turn them into a course. So multiple tutorials create a course. And the thing is, you've just got to be smart and kind of plan it out and go, make sure that when you're creating tutorials, create tutorials with the intent of creating a course. So you're going to create tutorials with the intent of creating a course. And that's when you answer the five important ones, right? What are you talking about? Why is it important? Who is it for? When would you use it? How do you do it? If you can answer those questions in each of your videos or tutorials that are in those videos, you're in good shape, because after that, you've got a course. So hopefully it makes sense. If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so we can get some more tutorials put up here. And again, if you haven't joined teachonline.io, it's a free community site that you're free to join. We've got a lot of great additional content there. So that's the first thing, is like, just make sure you create tutorials. Don't create a course. That's the big thing from the start. So what happens here from here? If you do have, or if you have created the tutorials, the next thing you're going to think about is like, how do I structure, or how do I put this together in a course? So why don't we take a look at what a course actually can look like, and from there we'll kind of figure out how we create this course and what the steps are. And the other one, just to be aware of this, is that when you're looking at courses, just to understand what a course is, yeah, actually that's a pretty good idea. So why don't we do that instead? I'm going to go back to that. So what does a course actually look like? What is a course? So make sure I've got some spelling down here. So what is a course? There's a couple neat things with a course, where a tutorial answers a question, a course provides an outcome. So let me erase this because it didn't work on that one. So we'll put their live tiles back on. We'll put that on. A course provides an outcome. And let me do this one. There we go. I don't know if we have that on yet. So a course promises an outcome. So tutorial answers a question. A course provides an outcome. So in every course, the idea up front is to go, what is the outcome that I'm going to guarantee that if people take my course, they're going to be able to do it? So for example, if you want to be able to teach someone to be able to be a better communicator, or if you have done all these tutorials on how to do something specific, and it can be on how to play a song on the guitar, it can how to stop your dogs from barking, it can how to read tarot cards, it can be whatever you want it to be, but you're promising someone a promise that at the end of the course, they will be able to do something. You're making a guarantee. And having that guarantee should give you the steps that are required to reach that goal. So if the goal is that, I'm going to put the BFC, which is the big fat claim, or the goal, you have to create some lessons or steps that guide people to that particular goal. And if you can get them to follow those steps, the way that your either experience is, or your education, or the work that you've done and the research that you've done, if you're able to say, look, do this and you'll get this, that's what a course is really about. So if you have a course, the first thing you're going to need to do is have a big fat goal. You've got to be able to know, for example, what are the specific tasks and steps someone has to take, and you've got to be able to write those down. So if you have them from there, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to write down the steps in the process. So what are the steps in the process that you have that you need? What are the things that are important to get them done? So you're going to have that, the steps. And for each of those steps, there might be specific tasks or topics that are in those steps. So if you have a bunch of specific tasks that are in a step, think of that as some lessons. So you may have, or a topic. So think of the steps as lessons and think of the tasks as topics. And if you look at the start here, we got this big fat claim or the goal, and we have steps and tasks. So you have to figure out and document how many steps do I have, and for those steps, how many tasks are required in those steps. And the thing is, if you look at this and you go, well, I only have 3 steps, or I only have 5 steps, and there's no real tasks in them, if they just do what's in this step, that's all that's required to meet that goal, or that, reach that goal that I promised them, the big fat claim. So you don't have to have tests, and you don't have to have hundreds of steps. You can have 1 step, you can have 3 steps, you can have 5 steps. There's no set number of steps or tasks in a course. It's whatever is appropriate for you and what you're trying to teach people. And if you think of this from looking at the tutorials I was talking about, think of the steps, they should be equal to the tutorials. So if you have a bunch of tutorials that you've done, if you think ahead of this and you know the intent for yourself is to create a course, if you think about, if I want to guarantee someone how to stop their dog from barking, or how to do something, or how to be a better parent, or how to be a better communicator, with abusive people, or some other claim that you're making, if you're doing the tutorials, think of it as like, what are the steps that I would need, or I would want to teach someone to be able to make this into a course later. You should have these steps and tutorials already in place from doing that whole hub and spoke kind of model. So put them together, and just remember, you don't have to have a certain number of steps. You don't have to have a certain number of tasks or topics, but you have to have the step or steps to be able to guarantee that if someone does it, they're going to get this big fat claim. So hopefully that makes sense to you in terms of setting it up. When you're setting it up from here, there's a bunch of things that you're going to need to do to kind of put it together in a way, again, that makes sense if there's multiple steps. I'm going to talk about doing it where there's more than one step and a bunch of lessons. Again, it doesn't have to be, but if it's going to call it a course and you want to charge money for it, I'm going to suggest that there's probably more, people are expecting more than one step or one kind of lesson. So let's take a look at a course here, and I'll just show you how it's kind of set up in terms of the structure of this particular course. So if we look on the screen here, and you'll see I've got my big fat claim at the top, but I wanted to show you on this piece, it's like, what is the actual course content? So on this one, the course content is all about, I'm just going to move some of my overlays and stuff away here. So this one is, the promise is here, but I'm going to look at it, and we've got a module, which is preparing to build your campus. Then I have building your campus. And I have creating your course, marketing your course and your campus. And those are the modules. And then if I look in them, if I expand them, I've got the outline campus goals, qualifications, and descriptions. So here's my step number 1. And I have 3 lessons, which are 3 tasks that go with it. So these are all ones that if I expand them all, we'll make sure we can get that expanded. there we go. So if I expand them, you can see these are individual kind of lessons in that step or topics to follow. This is how this one is laid out. So here's an example of a tutorial that may have be done earlier, right? How do you structure your education business? So if you're thinking about selling information products, how do you structure? That's a specific question and an answer to it. And then how do you pick a way to monetize what you're doing? How do you decide to get paid? What's the best way to get paid? And then how to organize your offer. Like, okay, I got an idea. How do I, make an offer for it? So these are individual kind of steps or tasks that are in this lesson, which is creating the goals. So I've got a module, I've got a lesson, and topics. Those are the pieces that most courses follow. They'll have that kind of structure. And this one, for example, here, we've got how do we pick the right business model, get the big picture. So I've got this one is another module or step, sorry. And then we've got all of these individual tasks that go in it or work that has to be done. So these are a whole set strategy that is put together by combining the lessons and the tutorials that you already put together. Okay, and again, the goal is at the end of it, they're going to be able to 8 steps to build an online learning site and tell courses online. So that's what I'm guaranteeing people. If they follow these 8 steps, they're going to be able to have an online learning site and sell courses online. And that's the process that puts it together. So hopefully that kind of helps in terms of getting a course put together or a way that you can structure the course. And what I do on these ones is I will always go to the mind map. And I've shown these before, this whole idea with the mind map, where you can put it together and have a mind map that basically it'll have, lesson 1, and it'll have the 3 topics, for example, that need to go there. And then you just basically build your map out and have it in the steps in the order that people need to take. And that turns into the courses that we just looked at. And that's what I did. That's what I did when I was starting. And the one thing that became kind of evident, I'll just give you an idea on why this whole idea of mapping and tutorials is important. The other thing that I learned very quickly, when people are starting out, and especially when they're an expert in something, the idea is that they will create one course. The idea is that I'm just going to, I'm going to create one course. I'm going to have one course, and I'm going to be, because I have the one course, I'm going to be one course financially independent. And they go, man, all I need is one course. I'm going to charge $9.97 for the course. And all I do is sell that one course. And if I sell 100 of them, I got $100,000 a year. It's great. I'm tons of money. I'm all set. I found out very quickly that that is the wrong approach to take. I've never run into anyone that has been able to create a course and sell that one course. I think that it's always going to be courses. It's always going to be courses. So just go in with the intent that at the end of the day, it's not just creating one course. You're going to have to continue to create tutorials, and you're going to be able to create multiple courses. And that's a really important distinction. It's like you're always creating. You're always adding and learning yourself, and you're always going to have to be finding different angles or different questions that come up because of the initial course and the initial tutorials. Things change, and there's more questions that you get as more people take you tutorials and lessons and courses. They're going to have additional questions that come up, and you're going to have to create additional tutorials to answer those questions, which end up turning into additional courses. So I've never seen one person have one course. I've seen people with multiple courses, and with multiple courses comes multiple revenue streams. So that's a much easier business to look at than having one course and being hung out to dry on the one course. When you think of marketing, and if you talk to anyone about marketing who's been in this a while, it's always a hub and spoke, right? You want to have your business in the middle. You want to have as many money spokes or as many income streams as you can possibly get. If you only have a single course, if you only had one course, and that was the only way that you were earning income, if you think of a bicycle tire and you have one spoke or two spokes on your tire, how successful are you going to be riding that business? Not at all. Not at all. So, if you sell a course and you sell your time, those are the only two money spokes that you have. Selling a course and your time, not a long-term business strategy. But if you have some additional courses, if you have a theme here and you have multiple smaller courses and a big course and coaching or consulting, and you add multiple money spokes, that's when you're going to have multiple streams of income and you're going to have a long-term business. So I've never, ever, ever run into anyone that's been successful selling a single course. Now I'm going to add a caveat to that. And I'm going to add the caveat. The only time that I've seen that work is where someone has one course one course is usually what's called a signature course. And it's the course that is associated with the hub. And that only happens if you have multiple courses that you've already created, and the signature course is the amalgamation of all of your smaller courses. And the time that you see this is if someone is already famous. So if someone's famous and they're already well known, you'll find they're only marketing one course right now. They actually market the big signature course, not only because they can afford to, but because everyone is aware of their big fat claim from other aspects of their business. Everyone's aware of that already, and they just want to get involved with them. The cool thing is when you're somewhat famous or well-known or successful, you can market your hub and downsell to the small courses, or you can sell the small course and upsell to the signature course. So this only happens when people are marketing a course, or it seems they're marketing a course. It's because they're well known, they already have a big community or customer base, and it appears that they have one course, but they actually have multiple courses already. So that's the only time you'll actually see that. The other thing I just want to I'm going to talk on this just because it's important and it's something that's changing. I'm talking about creating courses, and I think it's getting a lot harder. It's harder to sell courses now. And I've talked, I have a couple of videos on why you should give away courses, but I think it's getting a lot harder to sell courses. And the reason being is that it's getting very competitive, not with quality, but with quantity. So it's competitive because there's so much quantity of people calling tutorials courses or just marketing content as a course, that it's hard to make the distinction between what's actually a course and what's actually a tutorial. And there's so much content that is available for free that is a tutorial or answering specific questions. It can get really, really confusing and people can get overwhelmed. So it's content, it's like content overwhelm, right? So that's a problem for most people who are the buyers or the students, and they're getting stuck and not doing anything, or it's hard to be heard. If you're creating your first course, it's really hard to be heard if you have, if you know, if no one knows who you are and you're saying this is the best thing since sliced bread and pay me $997. It's getting really, really hard. So I think what's going to happen is, even though I'm talking about creating your first course, what I'm going to suggest is you're going to be creating some of these tutorials and smaller mini courses, which aren't 8 steps and 10 steps. They may be 1 step with 4 lessons, or 1 step with 3 lessons, or, you know, what I call a mini course. You're going to create those mini courses. Those ones you may even give away, or they'll be low priced. And I think what's going to happen with courses is you're going to have blended courses. And what I mean by blended courses, there's 2 types of blended courses. So one is going to be the video, which we think of as what a course is. It's like a written material, audio material, video material. It's something that people take on their own time. I think it's going to be a lot more emphasis is going to be on this next little bit on blended courses, which means that you as the instructor are going to provide the same content that you did, but you're also going to make yourself available in live events like a webcast like this or a Zoom call, and you're able to call that a course, but because you're including additional time of your own with that course, you can charge for it. Whereas a lot of the smaller courses, again, pretty busy with everyone trying to do the same thing. Calling it a course, you're going to have trouble selling these courses that aren't blended. So blended courses, I think, are going to be a big thing. Now, where does that fit in again? So this is kind of interesting, because if you do, the whole idea of blended courses again, and again, this is the easiest way to create your video content. If you are doing any kind of live events, like a Zoom call, or you're doing a call like this, which is a webinar on YouTube, you automatically, well, pretty close to automatically, get a recording. So the best way that I found and how I started was that when I started creating videos, I did not create them intentionally. I created them by recording live events. So you want to record every event that you do. And that's what I did. When we first started it, I did Monday mornings. I did a live webcast. And what I did is I recorded them. And the idea with that live webcast was to answer a specific question that I got from subscribers. I answered a specific question in the live event, and that was turned into a tutorial. So it's the exact same process that I did, but I just recorded in a Zoom call or a live webcast. I just recorded the answer to the question. I didn't do a fancy, stage or studio. I just had very, very basic setup. And if you have a camera, a webcam, and you're on a Zoom call, a smartphone in front of you, you can do this. Just record your answer to the questions. Don't do a fancy production. Just get the answers recorded. Capture what you're already doing. Capture that digital exhaust that you're spitting out on a daily basis. Just capture it and collect it. And again, a Zoom call, if you're going to have a Zoom call, just because most people have them an hour or 45 minutes, doesn't mean you have to have a Zoom call for an hour or 45 minutes. If you're showing someone on the screen something on your browser, if you're talking to someone with their permission, just record it. And that recording gives you the content for your first course. Not only is it, the recording is technically a tutorial, which we talked about as a lesson. So that Zoom call or anything that you capture on your phone, you get a whole bunch of stuff from that. You get the video. You also get the audio for it. And there's a lot of tools now that are available that will give you the transcription so that you have the text. So capture the live content that you're doing. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be produced. It doesn't have to be edited. And in fact, when you think of editing and you're looking at a Zoom call, the only edit that you have to do with a Zoom call is cutting it into pieces. So you want to cut to pieces. Because if you are doing, for example, a longer Zoom call, in the Zoom call, you may be answering 4 questions. You may be answering 5 questions. You may be doing an introduction and some points that you're talking about, and then you're wrapping things up. So just think about when you're doing a Zoom call, just do an introduction to what it is you're doing with the person, or with a Zoom call, when you don't have to have it, you can do a Zoom call and record a live Zoom call. You don't have to have someone on the other end. You can just do a Zoom call, record it, and just remember, hey, I'm going to be able to use this later. So just talk in terms of what is it that you want to be able to teach people in, if you're doing an hour long, how many steps can I break this into? How can I use it in a course? And that's the easy way to create the course, not go, oh God, I got to film this and I got to have this lesson and stop and edit it. Just capture the Zoom call that you're doing or the live webcast that you're doing. Okay, so hopefully this is making sense. Again, if you have questions, put them in the comments or in the description below. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this after, and also join the community on teachonline.io so that you can pick up on some of the other materials and ask some questions there. So where does this kind of leave us? So you're making soup tutorials. You've got a listing tutorials that answer a bunch of questions. You can put those questions into a format that guarantees a big fat claim for someone or guarantees an outcome for someone that you're promising. And you're putting them together in terms of audio, video, and text. And if you can do that, you technically have your first course. And again, the course always in my experience turns into courses. I think one of the things I just want to maybe sort of touch on, and I'll go back to just talk about this for a second, is there's real value in doing the tutorials and courses versus a course. And here's what I'm talking about. And again, there's tons of people that have looked at this and talked about this too. If you look at someone's YouTube channel, or if you look at someone's first course that they did, they're generally not great courses. They're poorly put together. They're maybe not structured well. The editing is bad when you start off. But if you're doing a bunch of tutorials, have the goal is being able to explain yourself a little bit better and practice little things on maybe looking into the camera or trying to figure out how to do some lighting or make sure that the speaker works properly, and kind of learn a little bit each time you do the tutorial, and you'll see that the course or courses will get better over time. So there's real value in looking at courses versus a course. The other thing is that when you have multiple courses, one of the things that becomes hard or difficult after is focusing for you as the instructor. If you only have one course to market to people, it can be hard, not only for you because you feel uncomfortable marketing the same course over and over and over again. It can be hard for you to keep excited about it because maybe it was a course that you did 6 months ago or a year ago. You've moved on, but you're trying to sell something that you did a while ago to people who maybe aren't as interested, or it doesn't, the questions you answered in the course or the promise that you made in that first course, it's not something that they're looking for or wanting or answering questions that they have. So in terms of marketing your courses, it allows you to market individual courses that are current, answering current questions over a period of time. And if you can continually market material, if you get people back into, let me just open this up because here's the real value of it. if you get back into where you have multiple courses, you've got multiple courses, and if you market the course today and you say, look, I'm going to do this course, I'm going to put these tutorials together, I'm going to put those ones there, you're going to market it for a month or something, you're in the situation after that it's there and you can market another course. So this is course B. So you got course B that's there. And you start marketing this one. If you market the individual courses for a set period of time with a set process, the best part is that once you've captured that one person or that person's interest in course B, you can now start marketing in an automated fashion all the additional courses that you add. So if they start off and they're not interested in market course A, they're not in course B, so they get to course C and they go, man, that's for me. So what happens is they're going to enter your system at course C. But if you've got a marketing process put together, once they're there, you can say, you know what, you're in the middle here, I'm going to send you out to course D. Or you start and say, look, you should really start at course A. So you have your automation, start them at course A. If they don't buy there, you send them to course B. You're marketing course C right now currently, but someone that is in your community or people that you've captured their interest in, you now have multiple courses to market to them. And it's not just, here's my one course, buy my one course. So you got these money spokes, it's easier to market, put together multiple courses and think about how can I make these courses smaller, not bigger, and how can I apply my marketing system to be able to put those together. And before we end up today, I've been going, holy mackerel, almost an hour already. I'm going to share one other thing that's happening with courses. And again, this is something that you'll get into after you have some courses and some tutorials. And it's what we're starting to see in the industry right now is something called a cohort. Now, I don't like that word, but that's the one that people kind of know what about. So cohort courses is more like, think of it more as classes or semesters. And this is really an education model. When you think about it, it's like if you go to a school or a campus, got a school or a campus, you have a course that is on a set period of time. So you have a start and a finish for time. And the course materials in here, or the lessons and topics, are consumed during that period of time. So someone starts on a date and someone finishes on a date, and they follow through that process. Now, the reason it's called a cohort is because the people with a start and a finish, there's not one person, there's multiple students. And that's a cohort. So it's multiple students going through the same course at the same time over a period. So let me see if I can get our tile to work. A cohort is multiple students taking a single course over a period of time. Hey, look at that. So a cohort is multiple students taking a single course over a period of time. And there's some unique benefits from that. And some of the benefits, for example, is you have this whole sense of community, right? So you got this idea with community. You have live lessons that are in there. You have things like where you can start adding things like quizzes and assignments become more important. You can have linear learning, which means that people have to take courses in the same period of time. You can have certification from here. Again, pardon my penmanship. So this is when you get into actually a little more complex, but you're going to see the more people doing this whole cohort-based lessons. you see some people do it. And the part that's important for you as an educator or someone trying to build an education business is a cohort gives you the opportunity for much bigger dollar values of the courses. So it's not selling a $27 course or a $47 course or a $297 course. Because it's over a period of time, because there's multiple people involved and you're more involved as the instructor, you can charge more for it. So it's kind of the big money spoken. You'll see now that people are doing that whole idea of a signature course. That whole idea of a signature course is now about, make sure we clean that. The signature course is all about cohort learning. And I think you're going to see that one around a lot more now. People are more interested in it because there is so much competition and there is so much content available that people are having trouble organizing their head. I found 15 answers to the questions that I have, but those 15 answers are from 15 instructors, and I don't know which questions I should be asking, in which order, and which answers I'm getting are the right ones. So what's happening is a lot of people that are self-searching for all of these questions they have, they're not only being confused, they don't know who to trust, and they have questions that are not answered in the videos. And when that happens, they want someone to talk to. So big opportunity for coaching in courses or cohort learning in courses. I think that's where it's going to be going. We're going to see a lot of growth in there, but you have to do the work beforehand. You have to have some tutorials captured. You have to have your first course. You have to get started with there. So what I'm asking you to do, what I suggest you do, is get on your Zoom calls, do a list of questions that you know that people are asking, or ask your community what the questions they have are. Write them down and start answering them in a video format. And if that video format's in front of a smartphone, if it's on a Zoom call, if it's on a screen capture, something that you're doing on your computer, just get started and capture that material, knowing that you're going to put this together in a course after. So hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I had fun with this one. We went an hour. I'll put this one up on the YouTube. I'll also put it in the campus so you can take a look at it and want to see it after. I hope you enjoyed this, or if you aren't watching it live, make sure to look in the description below. I've included any of the links that I maybe put. Join teachonline.io, join the community, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Help us out, and hope you are able to start, build, and grow your education business. So my name is James. You're on the Teach Online channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Accept the best. And let's bring this in for landing. There we go. End show. Oh, not now. There we go. Time to finish up. I'll have to edit this after, won't I? Okay. What do we want to do? And my screen is actually off to the side, so I can't even do it. Let's try this. I can't even get it out here, so. Isn't that awful? Let me try this one here. Camera effects. Can't add it. There we go. Let's try and finish now.